Hi, it's Ms. Herkler again. Welcome to another day of painting. So, the last day of school we had a really beautiful day and we had a chance to go outside and sketch the back of our school pointing towards maybe South Mountain in Vernon, New Jersey. And something that we discussed was that some of you had watercolors and were ready to use watercolors and had watercolors in their art kits that I sent home and were ready to work with watercolors. And I just wanted to go over some of your options. Now, of course, you have a watercolor set like that, and we'll talk about mixing some of them. But for some of you, you don't have watercolors at home, and I told you to save some old coffee and try to use coffee as a medium. So what I'm doing here is just going to give you a little demonstration on how to do a brown or sepia tone background using coffee and a little bit of water. So what I'm doing now is I'm just bringing down the coffee a little bit, and what happens here, and you can see the levels of light, medium, and dark coffee. And what happens when you do that, it's called value, right? So you have the light, the medium, and the dark. And so what I'm going to do right here is to drop in a little bit of our background with a light tone of coffee paint. And with that coffee paint, I'm using a good watercolor paper, and you have some of that watercolor paper in your kit, and you brought some home in your sketchbook if you did some sketches. And what I'm doing right now is I'm using one of my large brushes in the set for the sky and background. And so what I have here is one of these large brushes that came in your set. So what happens is the page starts to curl, and I usually have them taped down for you, but this time I'm leaving it so you can see why I say you should tape it down. And in here I'm going to drop in some color into the background, and then with a wet on wet I'm going to drop some of the darker coffee in here. And so you see what happens as you build up tone and value. Now I'm painting over marks that I did with a Sharpie. And the Sharpie I'm using is a permanent marker. Using a permanent Sharpie marker first is going to prevent bleeding, and that happens when you're using a regular magic marker, such as a Flair magic marker, a Papermate Flair magic marker, or any other pen that may not be waterproof. So you want to be careful and use the Sharpie. Even a Crayola will blend when using watercolor over the marker. And so what I'm doing here is now using some of that coffee. You're putting in some layers and making it a little bit darker. Put in some values into your trees. Put in some background. And so you see what I mean? It starts to build up. I'm using some of the lighter, watered down coffee for some of the bottom pieces. And what it does is, I think it gives it an antique feel to the whole work. And of course, you can take some darker coffee. This one isn't so dark, but you could take some darker coffee and really get in there and start putting layers and layers in here to really increase in terms of value and different shades in your painting. But for this one, I just want you to practice with the coffee and practice doing a tree in your background, tree from your backyard, tree that might be near your house, because Vernon is so beautiful, and the colors are starting to change, and we'll get to winter landscapes. But for right now, you're just going to play with this. Bye, artists.